Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast presented by Saint Church. My name is Caleb, and our hope is to help you study the Word of God every single day. Every day, we are uploading episodes onto Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, where we are taking time to read a chapter of the Bible, look at the context it was written in, and seeing what it has to say for us today. And so today, we're going to be doing just that by diving into Esther Chapter 7, continuing to see the story that is unfolding in the book of Esther. Now, really quick and really fast before we dive in, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, thank you for checking this out. If you don't mind, by the end of this video, taking a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes, but also so people see this as content worth checking out. If you enjoy the video too, just drop a like on it. That'd be amazing. If you're watching this or listening to this on Spotify and Apple, take a moment, follow the podcast, leave a rating. 5 stars helps people to know this is trustworthy content. But with that being said, let's dive right on in to Esther Chapter 7, starting in verse 1, the word of God today. It says this: So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. And as they were drinking wine on the second day, the king again asked, Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom it will be granted. Then Queen Esther answered, If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king. King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, Who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such a thing? Esther said, An adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman. Then Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage, left his wine, and went out into the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The queen exclaimed, Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house? As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, A pole reaching to a height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He had it set up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king. The king said, Impale him on it. So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. And that is the close of Esther chapter 7. You guys, this is an intense chapter of the Bible where we are seeing some wild things take place. Now, really quick, I want to make sure we understand the context of this, and I want to rehash some of the story that we've already been journeying through. So, really fast, when we read about this king here, King Xerxes, it is imperative that we realize that King Xerxes, he was the king of Persia at the time. He is not a king of Judah or Israel. He is not a God-fearing man or anything like that. And so you might be hearing this, and if we read this just in this moment, and we did not take to know the context, you might look and say, wow, he's a king being listed in the Bible. He must be a king who cares about God and that sort of a thing. Not at all. Not at all. King Xerxes, by every account we read of him, he is a man who is brash, who is quick to make decisions, and he is really self-serving almost all the time. And so in this moment, he goes and he makes a quick and hasty decision and all those things. But again, this is a moment where we are seeing Esther ultimately be wise. Now, let's remember something really quick. King Xerxes, he ended up having it in chapter 1 of the book of Esther. He had Queen Vashti cast out of his presence. He ended up searching for a new queen. He found Queen Esther. He picks Esther to be his queen, and she's invited into the household. You end up seeing that Mordecai, her uncle, who was a father figure for her, said, hey, be wise. Don't tell them that you are a Jewish woman and that sort of a thing. Over time, we end up seeing that Haman, he ends up hating Mordecai because Mordecai, a Jewish man, would not bow to him and give him the honor in the way that he expected. And so he ended up having an edict made, a law made in support from King Xerxes that the Jewish people would be able to be annihilated, killed by the people of the land on a given day. Now, in this moment, we have to acknowledge that Haman did it in a deceitful way, going to the king and having him understand things in a way that wasn't true. He was trying to cast a certain picture of the Jewish people, and in reality, it was just that he had an issue with Mordecai. And so in this moment, we end up seeing it go forward, and Mordecai, he has an opportunity to help the king. He hears of people who are conspiring to assassinate him, and he ends up reporting that. The king ends up honoring Mordecai, all this different stuff. But you guys, we get to this moment, this banquet. You're like, Caleb, I've already heard about the other stuff. Well, this moment is a moment where we are seeing Esther's wisdom just on display. Now, why is this? Well, Queen Esther, she went after having a time of prayer and fasting, and she goes before the king. And she goes before him, and he ends up showing favor to her. He says, yes, make a request. And she does not make this request in that moment. She looks and she says, let me host a banquet for you and Haman. And it's this moment that just seems so interesting because you look and you say, why not just ask for what you need to help her people? But instead, what does she do? She finds the right time. So she goes and she hosts a first banquet, and she actually ends up looking after that one. And she says, King, if it's okay with you, let's do another banquet. So now we have two banquets, and she has this moment. She looks and she says now, in the midst of all this stuff that has transpired, all these things have gone on, Haman has walked in so much pride. He has set himself up on such a high pedestal to the reality that he wanted to kill Mordecai so much that he, yes, had a pole put up so that he'd be able to have him impaled on it. And what did Haman's pride drive him to? His pride drove him to try to tear a man down, but instead, Haman now is being torn down by the very thing that he created for the sake of another to fall. So King Xerxes, he says, man, get rid of this guy. Even Haman, even though it doesn't look like, as we can see by him just trying to plead with her, that he actually was trying to assault Esther or anything like that. But man, he's a bad guy who's done a lot of bad things. And King Xerxes walks in and he's like, what's going on here? Haman is walking in just a comedy of errors. He's just doing the wrong thing after the wrong thing after the wrong thing, to the point now that he was taken and he was put up on the very pole that he meant for Mordecai. Now, really quick, let's tone it back for a second. What's going on in this book right now? We are seeing a man walk in his pride, so much so that it is he's falling over time and time again. And we see a woman, we see Esther walking in such wisdom that God's grace has gone before her. So I actually don't want to unveil too much of this story today, because there's more stuff that's about to play out that is so amazing to see. But once again, we see Esther walked in wisdom. Now, you might say, Caleb, we've talked about this for a couple of days. Well, here's the thing. Just as Esther was patient, I want you to just to resonate with that same thing today. She was wise. She looked for the right timing to make the requests and do the things that God had placed before her. For Haman, he had been prideful. He had been brash and quick on all of his decisions. And what did it lead to? His downfall. So for us today, what must we be? We must be wise. We must not walk in pride. And we have to be more patient than we think we need to be. Why? Because God has timing that we need to trust. If Esther had asked too soon, who knows if the request is met? But she waited for the right time. And so today I want to encourage you, be patient, seek after God, and don't be like Haman. Don't start trying to tear people down, because guess what? Most of the time, it's going to lead to your own downfall. But with that being said, you guys, thanks for checking this out today. If you're on YouTube, once again, make sure to take a moment, subscribe, like the video. If you got any questions, please, we want clarity, not confusion. So comment any questions down below. If you are on Apple and Spotify, take a moment. 5 stars helps people to know this is trustworthy content they should check out. But you guys, I'm so glad you're here today, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow, because we are taking time to study the Word of God every single day.